assistant coach last year, and we upgraded him. So, Craig, it's business as usual, right? What's been the biggest change for you the last year? Just one. Just give me one
Real
thing.
simple, 12 months. Is that fuzzy just to me or to everyone? A little fuzzy? I don't know if I can move if it helps. No? It's just going to be fuzzy? Okay. It's like my head bit. No, biggest change obviously is the 3 changes I made in jobs, moving, all that stuff. But it's a simple place to move. You guys are quite nice to newcomers. So it's been a really nice transition for myself, my family, and obviously this transition in job is exciting, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity. Obviously, we brought some players in already, so hopefully you guys agree with those, because now I'm the guy you'll be disagreeing with. I look forward to the conversations.
You've been in this stadium as an opposing player. How's it different going out there wearing the RSL colors?
Well, people like me. I was a bit like Darth Vader when I played. I was well disliked everywhere except my home games. Probably kicked your favorite player once or twice. I apologize now. At the time, I might not have seen this sincere, but no, I mean it's always been a great place to play. I played back in Rice Eccles as well as here. I was with Houston during those years, but obviously it's an intimidating place to play. So it's much nicer being on this side of it. When you're wearing the right colors, this stadium's very friendly.
We're going to open it up to you guys as well. If you got any questions for Craig, just go ahead and stand up, and we'll get your questions asked. Go ahead.
What formations are you guys going to toy around with in the preseason?
Craig's asked what formations the team's going to look at here for the 2015 season.
Yeah, I obviously we've got the diamonds. That's the way this roster's been built for years. I think last year we made a few attacking moves and signings that give us the option to play with a more attacking presence. So I think there's a couple of different formations that you could see. Obviously, the diamond is the most familiar. That's the one that we will always have in our pocket. But with the way the roster is developed and the players that have come in, I think there's a possibility to play with another attacking player up top, maybe adding a third forward. It gets into semantics. I'm a defender by trade, so I always think your formation's based on the way you defend. So if I say a 4-3-3, you'll probably never hear me say that again unless I'm questioning how someone can call a 4-3-3 without 3 forwards. I don't get that. Most of the time it's a formation of a 4-5-1, a 4-2-3-1. There's different ways to play around with it, but it's a great question because obviously with the way that our roster's evolved, I think Jeff and the staff have an option now to really look at different formations and different opportunities to change throughout a game and evolve as a team, even within a 90-minute span. Last year there weren't a lot of changes to be made. When you're in a diamond, sometimes it can handcuff you. If the other team has solved the riddle, and you change formations and add a third forward, you're obviously changing your midfield structure. So that's something that Jeff spent a lot of time this offseason. We talked a lot about. He's working on it with the staff in terms of the personnel. But for the first question, that's a fantastic one because I think there is a ton of room for Jeff to experiment. And I would not be surprised if you guys see some of his ideas and some of the staff's ideas evolve on the field this year with regards to formation.
Thank you.
Craig, Kyle Beckerman opted not to go to U.S. National Team January camp. How important is that to the organization? What does that say about his character as you guys go into this preseason?
Well, as most of you probably know, Kyle signed a new contract. We've awarded him with a contract that we felt befitted his dedication not only to the team but to the culture and to Salt Lake. So it's a huge congratulations to him to get that new contract done. From a club perspective, for him to opt to spend the entirety of preseason with our club with our group. It's an amazing statement from a very, very professional player. And an opportunity like the national team, it never came to a big, somewhat athletic, bald guy like me. So I wouldn't know what it's like to turn that opportunity down. But, you know, his focus is this club. And his choice is to stay and to help develop in preseason, because he's missed a few preseasons now in those January camps. And he came to us a little while ago, and he made it very clear that this was his priority, and this is where he wants to be in January this year, is with this group and with these guys building this team. So it's a great statement by a great guy.
So on this summer, Steven Gerrard is joining LA as a team. Do you guys think that you guys are gonna be? Is it gonna are you guys still gonna win a lot of games, or do you guys feel like it's gonna be hard?
So the question is, with Steven Gerrard joining LA, where do we fall in the competitive nature of our conference? It's a good question. I hope by all accounts that Steven Gerrard looks pretty, but fails miserably. He's a fairly decent player. So with regards to how we like our roster, we really do. We like the number of attacking options we have, and we really like the evolution of where we can go as a group on the field. We don't feel handcuffed. We don't feel in any way forced to play one formation. And I think that's ultimately what solving the riddle of continuing to stay competitive is. We certainly don't envision ourselves going into this year any different than years past. We're a very competitive group, very competitive staff. We have a very talented roster. We're continuing to build that. We'll make another announcement in the next couple of weeks with regards to the roster. Very happy with one of the verbal agreements we have with the player now that we're trying to get finalized on paper. So I believe we're going to be as competitive as we have. I think managing minutes with the CONCACAF Champions year, Open Cup, all these things come into play. And what we really need to stay competitive is we need our whole roster to perform. And in truth, if you noticed, LA was one of two clubs that didn't get any players taking expansion, which really points to a couple of things. Great fortune is one of them, because they stayed very healthy last year in a very heavy calendar. If they had caught injuries, I think it would have been a different outcome. But obviously, I would have loved it to be a different outcome regardless. I don't think I've slept since then.
Hey, who do you expect to have a breakout year?
Who do I expect to have a breakout year? I think what we'll see is a continuation of what we saw at the beginning of last year with Jordan Allen. Ultra-talented young player that I think will continue to show everyone just how talented he is. Truth is, I still look back and wonder how he forced his way into the games in the beginning of the year because of the quality of player he is. And barring the injury he had, which was very unfortunate, I think he would have proven to be a rookie of the year. So I think Jordan Allen will continue to develop and impress. I think Justin Glad, another young player, is on that route. Whether or not he gets a lot of first team minutes this year is yet to be seen. It will depend on his recovery. He had an off-season surgery that he's on pace. I know he's not a new player, but Luis Gill's season last year, by everyone's account, including Luis's, was not what he wanted. And I think he's a guy that at his age, you might not include as a breakout year, but I certainly think Luis can have a high impact year for us, and one that really makes a statement that he's a long-term effective first team guy. He's already proven he's a first team guy. He's already proven he can play, but I think he has the potential this year to start taking games over. He's the 1 point. Yeah.
Okay. With all the signings that we've done over the past couple of months with Pekka, Elias, DeMar Phillips, and whatnot. Which one of those do you feel is going to be an impactful player right off the bat?
So the question is, of the new signings, which one do I think is going to be the most impactful in terms of minutes played and immediate, I guess,
Production.
contribution and production? Yeah. So I think by resume and by position, we'll count Homison as new. I think you guys know who he is.
Alavi says no.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously Homison comes back as a guy that's going to start, but of the other guys that you're unfamiliar with, I think DeMar Phillips is the one that comes with the strongest resume and really the one that the expectations of the group and of the staff is that DeMar maybe comes in with the upper hand in terms of contribution. The one thing that we always maintain here is to have two guys at every position that can play, and Abdullah is always, he's certainly not going to open any door in preseason for DeMar. So in order for DeMar to be that guy, he's got to come in and prove that he is the guy that has to displace Abdullah in terms of the starter/reserve role. There's so many games to be played this year that I think we will see a lot of our guys more so than last year where we were in a limited schedule. But to answer your question directly, I would think DeMar Phillips is the guy that comes in and contributes the most immediately.
New TV deal, does that open the door for any seven-figure contracts or signings?
With the new TV deal, does that open the door for any seven-figure contract? Oh, I hope for me. Don't think that's going to happen in the short run here. The one thing I will say as a club, we're not afraid to go out and sign those players. We do have a mentality, we do have a thought process in the way we build our roster. But in terms of resources, in terms of desire and getting those guys, we will not flinch if the right player comes up. Obviously, we can't get it every bit anymore. We can't always compete with the likes of the known versus the unknown. When you talk to a European player and you talk about New York and LA, they know those cities. They might not know the clubs. Matter of fact, I almost guarantee they don't know the clubs, but they do know the cities. And we're in Salt Lake. We have to, and it's now my job to really market this city on an international level that gets these players interested in coming here and having a look. I mean, once you get here and you look around, it's hard not to love it. But we've really got to work on working with that TV exposure to make sure these people know these players know what this is. I mean, everyone that comes here doesn't want to leave. So we're certainly going to target some guys and we'll consistently be looking at them. That's my job now, so I have to.
The team went out and got Sebastian Jaime last year. What can a preseason do for his production this year?
This is the one thing I say all the time is 2 years ago, there's a team up in the Northwest that signed a couple of designated players as forwards that scored, I think, about 4 goals combined. Clint Dempsey and Obafemi Martins came in mid-season and both really struggled to adjust to this league. You go a year later, they have preseason to prepare, and those two are decent. We'll give them credit. They had a good season last year, and the preseason is what really enabled that. So bringing Jaime in, when we did, in a perfect world, he comes in, he scores 10 goals in 10 games, and everyone sees it as an amazing thing. But coming into the MLS isn't simple. It's a tough league. You have a lot of guys like myself who played that we're out to prove we belong, and we're still in a process where Americans, even in our domestic league, are proving we belong. So it's very physical and very active and very powerful and very fast, and it's not necessarily the standard soccer that's played in Central and South America. So coming in for a full preseason, getting the exposure to six weeks of training, and not only that, but when a player doesn't play at a diamond, and you bring them in and you go, oh, by the way, we played a diamond, good luck. it's a there's a learning curve that I think with Hyman this year is, we expect to see a very impactful attacking player from Hyman. We believe he's got it.
Expect the season to start on time.
Do I expect the season to start? Sure. I think the season will start on time. I'm not in the middle of it. The players' union in the MLS are the ones that are there. For those of you that live under a rock, there's a CBA agreement going on right now. I see no reason why the season won't start on time. There's been 2 negotiations before. They've always been decided at the 11th hour, but at no point in those negotiations did we see a stall or a hesitation in the start of the league. I would be very surprised to see any sort of disruption. But if there was, I mean, from my stance, not being in the middle of the negotiation, I would believe it would be short if there was one at all. But we anticipate the season starting on time. I'll tell you, like, as of right now, I'd be very shocked if we didn't. And it would mess up playing against Borchers in our first game, which I don't want to do.
That's right. With all the changes in the defense, how do you expect all the new players to mesh with our veterans?
A good question. With all the changes in the defensive side of the team, how does the new guys mesh with our veterans and our club? Really, there's mechanisms in our league that can sometimes bite you and be a little disappointing. Expansion being one of those, and especially when expansion involves a coach on the East Coast that knows every single one of our guys. We anticipated losing 2, and in the process found that the value of a trade, rather than just having that gone, getting some assets for him was what was best for a club. All tough decisions and realistically never ones you want to make, but in the process being forced upon you. So you move on, you bring guys in. We've done our research on these guys personality-wise. We meet with each player before we sign them. We don't sign blind. We never do. There were 2 trips last year to watch Jaime play and meet from Jeff and from Garth before they sign him, and that's a process that we're proud of as a club. We try to do our research on a person first. There's a lot of good soccer players. You can bring in the wrong one and you're in for a long haul. So we think Zamora mixes in. Obviously, we know Olave mixes in. The guy was, I think he moved back here about 6 minutes after we traded for him. So he was fairly excited. So with regards to the changes in the defense, we'll have another announcement on a defender coming in that's a high quality international level player, and we really think we've got the right guys. But not only do we think we got the right guys, we've brought in a balance of experienced players that we think can have an immediate effect. But we're also signing some younger guys that we can maybe is the next Nat Borchers with regard to Chris Winger with regards to longevity, not with regards to personality. You don't replace people, and that's one thing I will never ever lie to anyone about. You don't replace people. You can only replace a soccer club, and they will develop on their own. So we're bringing in good human beings. We're bringing in good soccer players. We hope that they prove the longevity that some of these guys we were forced to lose had.
Got time for 1 or 2 more.
Is that it, man?
What would you say are the top reasons why RSL fans should be excited for this upcoming season?
The top reasons RSL fans should be excited for the upcoming season.
It's outside.
Evolution. One of the things in sports that's a guarantee that's also can be determined as exciting to me is evolution. It's undeniable. You can't avoid it. There's new faces. There's new players to support. There's new people to grow with. That the fact that we have our core together, we bring back all of our attack, which is an exciting attack, a successful attack. We've outright we've bought Plata his rights. We as a club now are his home, his permanent home, and we've made a lot of commitment to to continuing the success. The issue with evolution is, in order in sports to evolve, you always have to lose something. In this case, we were forced to lose things, which you don't hide behind. At the same time, you have to take it head on. And we feel like we brought in good players that can continue to play entertaining, successful, and most importantly, winning something. So that would be my answer, but I might be a little biased because I have a position that I actually like our roster.
What kind of priority are you putting on CONCACAF this year?
Well, the question is, what kind of priority are we putting on CONCACAF?
Going for the fences?
Excuse me. We won't play in a competition we won't try and win. This year, the reason I referred to our roster and the way we're structuring it is because we're building our roster to be movable. We are building our roster and our players to play. You know, we don't want to get in a situation where we look down and I have Jeff look down his bench and not be comfortable putting every single player on the field in given situations. CONCACAF's a different game. I mean, you guys are familiar with it. I played in it many, many years. It's a completely different style of soccer than we see domestically. So we have to be very calculated. We have to be very smart with the lineups we're putting on the field there. But with regards to if we're trying to win it, the answer is an emphatic yes. We will not compete in a competition without trying to win it. We'd rather not take the field.
How big is it this year with the Monarchs coming in, especially in your position, to have the option to have places for developing players like that?
The question is with the Monarchs and developing players, how does that fit into really where we are as a club? I mean, for my position, it's exhausting because we're building from scratch in terms of roster and personnel, as well as making sure the primary focus is always the first team. At this point, I think we're very confident, comfortable where we are as a first team. So we've really started to focus on building that Monarchs roster. You will see a number of players that play games with the Monarchs, but are also on the first team roster in first team games. But it gives us an unbelievable growth option now, not only for our young players coming up, which you will see some signings here in the next little while from some of our youth from our academy. Getting those guys 25 games a year it's an incredible opportunity, you know, to grow, to continue to grow, but also to grow not only players, staff, coaches, everything. You know, Freddie Juarez comes from our academy. He's now the Monarchs head coach, and so there's a familiarity with our youth that's going to come into there. We obviously know Freddie forever. When I coached in the college game for 5 years prior to coming here, and I know Freddie very well because I was trying to recruit 90% of his players. Unfortunately, when they live in the sun in Arizona, they weren't that interested in the idea of Seattle. So, but with regards to development, it's a remarkable opportunity for us to provide game situations, professional games, for these players. First team players, youth players, USL players. And you'll see a very healthy mix of that as we get going.
Craig, I'm going to ask you an off-the-field question. While you're upstairs in your suite watching the game as opposed to down on the field.
Warm popcorn.
Yeah. Are you going to be watching the game on the field, or are you going to be watching the new big screen here in the South End?
I'll probably be watching the big screen. I'm addicted to technology, TVs and things like that. I'll try and, I mean, it's almost as big as the field, so at times it might be more realistic. I'm excited. I mean, the one thing I will say is if you see me walking around the stadium, please don't point. Just say hello. I'm actually quite nice, believe it or not. I might not look it all the time, and depending on the score line, might not be walking with a smile. But please do say hello when you see me. I'm approachable. I have all the time in the world.
Just so we can get it all out of our system now. Everybody point at Craig right now. We've all got it out of our system. Good. So I like the question about things you're excited about for this season. What take that feeling from last season? What was your biggest takeaway from last season in building the team for 2015?
About 3 weeks of not sleeping at the end. No, I mean, transitioning from year to year is always interesting, especially as a coach, and obviously my transition has been crazy this offseason, but you get to the end of a season and you immediately start asking yourself either what went right, what went wrong, what can get better, where do I think I can add as an individual, as a coach, as an assistant coach, and you just, the wheels start ticking the moment the season ends. And so it's really been since that day that our staff and we started building that night. As crazy as it sounds, you're disappointed, you're devastated, but you can't help but reflect and start thinking, how do we change the end result? In the end, only one team gets to win their last game. That's not true, because the teams that don't make the playoffs might win their last game and then they get to watch the whole thing. But in the end, only one team gets to win a game that matters, I should say. So there's a lot of teams that walk away disappointed and evaluated, and that's kind of what spurs the excitement. Is fortunately we've, as fans, you've won a championship, and that's the only feeling you ever want to feel again. And as a player, I can assure you, as a coach, I can assure you that once you've won it once, you really don't do this for any other reason. So that burning feeling that you all had was probably times 10 for the rest of us, and it hasn't really been put out yet. The only way to put out that fire is to get back out and start winning.
I'm going to ask one more question.
That's all you got for me? Come on, man.
Earlier today we asked for questions from Twitter, so inevitably we're going to get a nice array of questions here. The one that I'm going to ask you is about the speaker we're going to have up here next here shortly.